Welcome to Learn English with Speaker One. I'm very happy you're here today. If you are someone who understands English but feels nervous in real meetings, this episode is for you. Many learners don't struggle with grammar, they struggle with silence, that quiet moment in a meeting when nobody speaks and you feel pressure to say something.
Yes, that moment is really stressful for me. In my company meetings, sometimes everyone just becomes quiet. I don't know if I should speak or stay silent.
That is a very common feeling. Today, we will talk about something very real, not textbook English, real human moments in professional meetings. We will learn how to handle cultural silence and how to stay calm during awkward pauses without feeling embarrassed.
I want to ask something honestly. Why does silence feel so uncomfortable in English meetings?
That's a great question. Silence feels uncomfortable because in many cultures, silence means something is wrong. Maybe people think, I should speak. I am not smart enough. Something is wrong with my answer. But in professional English meetings, especially international ones, silence is not always negative. Sometimes silence means people are thinking, people are respecting each other, people are waiting for the right moment to speak.
So silence is not always a problem?
Exactly. Silence is not always a problem, but if you don't understand it, it feels like pressure. Let me give you a simple idea. In English meetings, silence is like a pause in music. It is part of communication, not a mistake.
But I still panic. When nobody speaks, I feel like I must say something quickly.
That reaction is very natural. Many learners do the same. Let's slow it down and understand what is happening in your mind. In that silence, your brain says, say something now. Don't look confused. People are watching you. But in reality, most people are thinking about the topic, not judging you. So the first skill is this. You don't need to rush to fill silence. You can pause, breathe, observe.
But what can I actually say when there is silence? I don't want to look unprepared.
Good question. Let's learn some simple and natural phrases you can use. When there is silence, you can use soft bridge sentences like, I think we may need a moment to consider this. Maybe we can take a second to think about it. Would it help if I share my idea first? These sentences are not aggressive. They are gentle. They help restart conversation.
Maybe we can take a second to think about it. That sounds very polite.
Yes, and it shows confidence without pressure. Now I want to tell you something important. You don't always have to be the first speaker, but you can be the one who makes the conversation feel safe again.
Sometimes I worry that if I speak first, my English will be wrong.
That fear is very common. But let's change the focus. In meetings, people are not listening for perfect English. They are listening for clear ideas. Even simple English like, I think this is a good direction, or maybe we should try another option, is powerful. Let me say this clearly. Confidence is more important than perfection.
I remember one meeting. Everyone was silent after my manager asked a question. I wanted to answer, but I didn't. Later, someone else spoke, and I felt I missed my chance.
I understand that feeling. Let's break that moment into steps. Step 1, the question was asked. Step 2, silence happened. Step 3, you hesitated. Step 4, someone else spoke. Now here is the key learning. The opportunity was not lost because of silence. It was lost because of hesitation caused by fear, and that fear can be trained.
How do I train myself not to panic in silence?
Very practical question. We train it in 3 ways. First, change your meaning of silence. Instead of thinking something is wrong, think people are thinking. Second, use a small pause rule. Before you speak, pause for 2 seconds. This helps your mind organize ideas. Third, prepare simple sentence starters. For example, I think, from my point of view, what I understand is, these starters reduce pressure.
That helps, because I often don't know how to start my sentence.
Exactly. The start is usually the hardest part.
Can we practice a real meeting situation?
Yes, let's do a simple role play. Imagine this situation. Your manager says, we need ideas to improve customer satisfaction. Any thoughts? And then silence.
Okay, I feel that silence already.
Now breathe. What can you say?
Maybe I think we can improve communication with customers?
Very good. Let's make it smoother. You can say, I think we can improve communication with customers by replying faster and being more clear. See? Simple expansion. Same idea, more confidence.
That feels more professional.
Yes, you are not changing your intelligence, you are only organizing your idea.
I also noticed something. In meetings, some people stay silent for a long time and then suddenly speak very confidently.
Good observation. That is actually a skill. They are comfortable with silence. They use it to think. And here is something important. Confident speakers are not afraid of silence. They use silence.
Sounds like power.
It is. Now I want to give you a mindset shift. Instead of asking, what should I say quickly, ask, what is a clear idea I can share? This removes panic.
Sometimes I also worry about my accent or grammar when I speak.
Let's be honest here. In real meetings, your accent is not the problem. Your clarity is what matters. Even native speakers pause, repeat, and make small mistakes. What makes communication successful is not perfection, it is connection.
So, if there is silence, I should not panic. I should think.
Yes, silence is thinking space, and you can choose to observe, prepare your idea, or gently start the conversation. Let's try one more example. We need to decide the timeline for this project. Now, silence happens. What can you say?
Maybe we can decide based on priority?
Very good. Let's improve it slightly. You can say, maybe we can decide the timeline based on priority and urgency of tasks. That sounds clear and structured.
I see. Just adding a little detail makes it stronger.
Exactly.
I think my biggest problem is not English, it is pressure.
That is a very honest answer. And you are right. Most communication problems in meetings are not language problems. They are pressure problems. Pressure makes your mind go blank. So the solution is not to learn more English vocabulary. The solution is to slow down, accept silence, and speak simply.
I want to try something in my next meeting. Even if there is silence, I will wait and then speak slowly.
That is a strong decision. And remember, you don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You just need to be clear when you speak. And silence is not your enemy. It is just a space waiting for someone to start.
That actually makes me feel less nervous.
Good. That is the first step. In the last moment, we talked about something very important. Silence is not your enemy. It is space. Now let's go deeper. Because in real professional meetings, silence can feel different depending on culture, people, and expectations.
I noticed that too. In some meetings, people speak very fast. In others, nobody speaks for a long time.
Exactly. And this difference is where many learners feel confused. Let's imagine 3 types of meeting cultures. In some workplaces, especially fast business environments, silence is short. People jump in quickly. They expect fast ideas. In other workplaces, silence is longer. People think carefully before speaking. And in international meetings, both styles mix together. So what happens?
People get confused, like me.
Yes, you are not alone in that. So the skill we need is not just English. It is silence awareness. That means you understand when to wait, when to speak, and how to restart conversations smoothly.
I want to ask something practical. When there is silence, I feel I need time to think, but I don't know how to buy time politely in English.
Very important question. We call this buying time language. These are natural phrases that give you space to think without feeling pressure. Let's learn some simple ones. You can say, that's a good question. Let me think for a moment. Or, I need a second to organize my thoughts. Let me consider that for a moment.
Let me organize my thoughts.
Yes, that sentence is powerful because it is honest and professional. You are not saying, I don't know. You are saying, I'm thinking carefully.
But sometimes I feel nervous even using those phrases, like I'm too slow.
That feeling comes from pressure again. Let's change the meaning of speed in meetings. Fast speaking does not always mean smart thinking, And slow speaking does not mean weak English. In fact, many strong professionals speak slowly because they choose their words carefully.
That makes sense, but my brain still freezes sometimes.
Then let's train your brain in a simple way. We use a method called pause and structure. Step 1, pause. Step 2, think in one idea. Step 3, speak simply. For example, if someone asks, "What do you think about this project delay?" Instead of panicking, you pause and think, one idea, communication problem. Then you say, "I think the main issue is communication between teams." Simple, clear, calm.
That makes sense. One idea only. It feels easier.
Exactly. Many learners try to say too much at once, and that creates pressure. Now let's talk about something emotional. Sometimes silence in meetings is not just thinking. Sometimes it feels like judgment.
Yes, that's what I feel. Like everyone is waiting for me to make a mistake.
That is a very human feeling. But let's look at reality. Most people are not analyzing your grammar. They're thinking about their own tasks, their own ideas, their own stress. The meeting is not centered on you. It only feels like that because you're nervous.
So how do I stop thinking like that?
We replace the thought. Instead of, "They're judging me," you say, "They're listening to ideas, not grammar." This small shift changes your emotional reaction. And when your emotion is calm, your English becomes more natural.
I want to try another real situation. Can we?
Yes, let's go deeper. Imagine this. Your team is discussing a problem. The manager says, "We are losing some customers. What should we do?" Then silence. Now feel that silence again.
I feel that silence again.
Good. Now stay with it. What is one simple idea you can say?
Maybe we can improve customer support?
Good start. Now let's expand slightly. You can say, "I think we can improve customer support by responding faster and being more available to customers."
That sounds more complete.
Yes, and notice something important. You didn't need advanced grammar. You just needed structure. Idea plus explanation.
I also notice that when I speak slowly, people still understand me.
Exactly. Clarity is more important than speed. Now let's learn another important skill. What do you do when someone else is silent and everyone is waiting? Do you speak immediately or wait?
I usually wait, and sometimes I miss my chance.
That happens often. So here is a gentle rule. If silence lasts too long, you can softly open the space. For example, "Would anyone like to start? I can share my thoughts if helpful." Or, "Maybe I can begin." These phrases are not aggressive. They are invitations.
Maybe I can begin. That sounds polite.
Yes, it gives you control without pressure. Now let's practice a different kind of situation. Sometimes silence is not just empty. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable after someone asks a difficult question.
Oh, yes, like when nobody wants to answer.
Exactly. For example, what is our biggest weakness as a team? Now this silence feels heavier.
Very heavy.
In that moment, you don't need a perfect answer. You can start with honesty. For example, "That's a big question. I think one challenge is communication between departments."
So I can admit it's a difficult question.
Yes, that actually makes you sound more natural and mature.
So I think I understand now. Silence isn't just one thing. It changes depending on the question.
Very good observation. Now let's add vocabulary that helps you sound more natural in silence moments. You can use words like consider, reflect, suggest, maybe, from my perspective. These words reduce pressure because they soften your sentence. For example, "From my perspective, we may need better planning."
That sounds safe in a good way.
Yes, it is safe English, not weak English.
I want to ask something personal. Do native speakers feel silence pressure too?
Yes, they do. Even native speakers sometimes hesitate in meetings. They say, "Let me think," or "That's a good point," or "Give me a second." So silence pressure is not an English problem, it's a communication situation problem.
That makes me feel better.
Good. Now let's do a short speaking exercise together. I will give you a sentence. You respond slowly, like in a real meeting. What do you think about improving team efficiency?
I think we can improve team efficiency by better planning tasks.
Very good. Now add one soft phrase at the beginning.
I think we can improve team efficiency by better planning tasks.
Excellent. That I think gives you time and confidence.
I feel like I'm learning not just English, but how to think.
That is exactly the goal. English in real life is not about perfect sentences. It's about handling moments. Moments of silence, moments of pressure, moments of uncertainty, and staying calm inside them.
So next time there is silence, I should not panic. I should pause, think one idea, and speak simply.
Yes, and remember this. Silence is not a gap you must fill quickly. It is a space where thinking happens. And when you learn to stay calm in that space, your English becomes much stronger.
I will try this in my next meeting.
That is all you need for now. Not perfection, just practice in real moments. Now that you understand silence a little more, we need to talk about something that often happens right after silence.
What happens after silence?
Someone speaks, or sometimes people start speaking at the same time. And this is where many learners feel even more confused, because now it is not silence anymore, it is interruption, overlap, or fast conversation.
Yes, that is actually harder for me. When people start speaking quickly, I lose my words again.
That is very normal. In international meetings, speaking turns are not always perfectly organized. People interrupt, add ideas, or continue each other's sentences. So we need a new skill, not just handling silence, but handling flow.
What do you mean by flow?
Good question. Flow means how conversation moves between people. In some cultures, flow is very structured. One person speaks, stops, next person speaks. In other cultures, flow is more flexible. People overlap slightly, agree quickly, and add ideas in real time.
So both are correct?
Yes, both are normal, but if you don't understand the flow style, you feel lost. Let's imagine a real situation. Your colleague says, "I think we should reduce project costs." Another person immediately adds, "Yes, especially marketing budget." And then someone else continues, "Or maybe we can change suppliers."
Oh, that happens so fast. I don't know when to speak.
Exactly. So here's the key idea. You don't need to speak first. You need to enter the conversation at the right moment.
How do I know the right moment?
We use entry phrases. These are simple sentences that help you join smoothly. For example, "Can I add something here?" Or, "I'd like to build on that idea." "That's interesting. I have a thought." These phrases are like a door. They help you enter the conversation without interrupting rudely.
I'd like to build on that idea.
Yes, that one is very powerful in professional meetings. It means I agree and I want to continue the idea.
But sometimes I feel afraid to interrupt people.
That fear is understandable, but here's an important truth. In English meetings, polite interruption is not rude if it is done correctly. It's actually seen as engagement. The key is tone, not "stop, I want to speak," but "sorry, can I add something?"
That sounds much softer.
Exactly. Now let's go deeper. Sometimes you don't need to interrupt at all. You can also join by supporting someone's idea. For example, "We should improve customer feedback systems." You can say, "Yes, I agree with that, especially online feedback." This is called agreement entry. You don't interrupt, you connect.
That feels safer for me.
Good. And there's another powerful method. It's called echo and expand. You repeat part of the idea, then add your own thought. For example, "Improve customer feedback systems. Maybe we can also add surveys after each purchase."
That sounds very natural.
Yes, it shows you're listening carefully. Now let's connect this back to silence. Sometimes silence happens because people are waiting for direction. No one knows who will speak next, so someone needs to gently move the conversation forward.
So I can be that person?
Yes, even if you are not the leader, you can guide the conversation with simple phrases like, maybe we can start with, shall I share an idea? Or, can I begin with one point? These are small leadership phrases.
Leadership phrases. I like that.
Because leadership is not about speaking loudly, it's about creating clarity.
I want to try a real example again.
Good. Let's continue. Imagine this. Your team is discussing a delay in a project. Everyone is quiet. Then your manager says, we're behind schedule. What should we do next?
Silence.
Good. Stay with it. Now, what is your first small step?
Maybe I think we need to review the timeline.
Very good. Now let's improve flow. Add a connection phrase at the beginning.
I think we need to review the timeline.
Yes, that is already strong. Now let's make it even more natural. From my perspective, I think we need to review the timeline and adjust priorities.
That sounds more professional.
Exactly. You didn't change the idea, you improved structure and confidence.
I notice something. When I speak like this, I feel more calm.
That is very important because confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you build while speaking. Now, let's talk about another real challenge. Sometimes in meetings, people speak very fast and use complex ideas, and you feel lost.
Yes, I understand the words, but I cannot follow everything.
That is common. So instead of trying to understand everything, you can use clarification phrases. For example, could you repeat that last part? Or, just to clarify, do you mean, or, sorry, I want to make sure I understand correctly.
That helps me feel less embarrassed.
Good, because asking questions is not weakness, it's professional communication.
I also worry that if I ask, people will think I'm slow.
Let's change that belief. In professional environments, asking clarification often shows that you care about accuracy. It shows you are listening carefully. Now, let me give you a real example. Imagine your colleague says, we should optimize the workflow by integrating cross-functional alignment strategies.
That sounds very difficult.
Yes. Now, instead of staying silent, you can say, sorry, could you explain what you mean by cross-functional alignment?
That feels simple.
And it keeps the conversation moving.
I think I understand something now. Silence is not the only problem. Speed is also a problem.
Very good insight. Silence is one extreme. Fast speech is another. Your goal is balance, not too fast, not too silent, just steady communication.
How can I become more steady?
We use a simple technique, slow thinking, simple speaking. Before you speak, ask yourself, what is my main idea? Not 3 ideas, 1. Then say it clearly. For example, my main concern is timeline. My main idea is customer communication. My suggestion is to simplify the process.
That makes everything easier.
Exactly. Clarity comes from simplicity.
Can we do another role play?
Yes, let's make it more realistic. Your team is discussing customer complaints. Someone says, we're receiving more negative feedback this month. Then silence.
To me, I would say we should analyze the feedback.
Good. Now add connection.
I think we should analyze the feedback.
Very good. Now expand slightly. I think we should analyze the feedback to find common problems and improve service quality.
That feels strong.
Yes, and notice something. You're not speaking more words randomly. You are building meaning step by step.
I feel like I'm becoming more confident in meetings.
Warm tone. That is because you're learning to stay present in silence and flow. Now, let me tell you something important. In real professional communication, the most confident people are not the ones who speak the most. They are the ones who are comfortable with silence, turn-taking, and imperfect moments.
That sounds very different from what I used to think.
Most learners think confidence means fast English, but real confidence is calm thinking.
So if I feel silence or fast speech again, I should not panic.
Yes. You pause, you listen, you choose one idea, you speak simply. That is your system.
Calm tone. I like that. It feels like a system I can follow.
Good, because when you have a system, you don't rely on fear, you rely on steps, and that is how you become stable in real English meetings. In the last part, we talked about flow, silence, and how to enter conversations naturally. Now, we need to go deeper into something many learners don't notice.
What is it?
Emotional pressure inside meetings, because sometimes the problem is not silence or fast speech, it is how you feel inside while everything is happening.
Yes, I feel that a lot. Even when I understand English, I still feel nervous inside.
That is very important to say. Many learners think, if I understand English, I will feel confident. But in real life, understanding is not enough. You also need emotional stability during communication.
So, how do I stay calm emotionally in meetings?
We start with awareness. First, notice your internal reaction. When silence happens, your body might say, something is wrong. When fast speech happens, your body might say, I am lost. But these are just reactions, not reality.
So, my feelings are not always correct?
Exactly. Feelings are signals, not facts. Now let's build a simple emotional control method. We call it pause, name, respond.
What does that mean?
Step 1, pause. You stop rushing internally. Step 2, name. You identify what is happening inside you. For example, I feel nervous. I feel confused. I feel pressure. Step 3, respond. You choose a simple action. Listen, ask a question, or speak one idea.
That sounds very structured.
Yes, because emotions become easier when you name them. If you don't name them, they grow in silence inside you.
I want to try this in a meeting situation.
Good. Let's imagine this. Your manager says, we need a solution for declining sales. Everyone becomes quiet.
I feel nervous already.
Good. Now apply pause, name, respond. Step 1, pause. Don't rush. Step 2, name. What are you feeling?
I feel pressure and a bit confused.
Good. Step 3, respond. What is one simple idea you can share?
Maybe we should review our marketing strategy.
Very good. Now let's make it sound more natural.
I think we should review our marketing strategy.
Yes, that is already clear. Now expand slightly.
I think we should review our marketing strategy to understand what is not working.
That feels more complete. Exactly. And notice something important. You did not remove your nervousness completely, but you acted anyway. That is real confidence.
I think my biggest problem is not speaking English. It is stopping myself from speaking.
Taba, that is a very honest realization. Many learners are not blocked by language. They are blocked by hesitation. Now let's talk about hesitation. Hesitation usually comes from 3 fears: fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding unprofessional, and fear of silence after speaking.
Yes, all 3 are true for me.
Then we need to weaken these fears one by one. Let's start with mistakes. Mistakes are normal in meetings. Even professionals rephrase their sentences. They say, let me say that again, or what I mean is, or sorry, I will rephrase that.
So mistakes are allowed?
Not only allowed, they are expected, because speaking in real time is not perfect writing. It's thinking while speaking.
What about fear of sounding unprofessional?
That comes from overthinking vocabulary, but professionalism is not big words, it's clarity. For example, I think this is a good idea is more professional than I would like to propose a strategic consideration if the first one is clear and the second one is confusing.
That is interesting.
Yes, simple is often stronger.
And the fear of silence after speaking?
That is very common. Many learners speak and then immediately regret it if nobody responds. But silence after speaking does not mean you're wrong. It often means people are thinking. So we change the meaning again. Instead of, they didn't respond, so my idea was bad, you think, they are processing my idea.
I like that. It feels less personal.
Exactly. Now let's move to a very practical skill. Sometimes in meetings, you don't understand everything, but you still want to participate. So, what do?
I usually stay silent.
Many people do that, but there is a better option. You can use partial participation. That means you don't need full understanding to speak. You can say, what I understand so far is, from what I hear, the main issue is, correct me if I'm wrong, but...
That sounds very safe.
Yes, it protects you from pressure because you're not claiming full understanding, you're showing engagement.
I want to try this.
Good. Let's continue the role play. Your manager says, we need to restructure the onboarding process to improve efficiency.
I understand only part of that.
That is okay. What can you say?
What I understand so far is we need to improve onboarding process.
Very good. Now add soft continuation.
What I understand so far is we need to improve onboarding process to make it more efficient.
Excellent. You did not need full understanding. You still participated.
I feel like I don't need to be perfect anymore.
That is a big shift. Now let's talk about something deeper. Sometimes in meetings, silence feels emotional, not logical. It feels like, I don't belong here, my English is not enough, others are better than me.
Yes, I have felt that.
I understand, but let's be very clear. Your value in a meeting is not your grammar, it's your thinking. Even simple ideas can move a conversation forward.
But I still compare myself to others.
That is natural. But comparison in meetings is dangerous because it steals your attention. Instead of listening to others, you start monitoring yourself. So we need to shift focus from how good is my English to what is the problem we're solving.
That feels more productive.
Exactly.
Can we do one more real situation?
Yes, let's make it slightly more difficult. Your team is discussing a customer complaints escalation. Someone says, the situation is becoming urgent and we need immediate action. Silence follows.
I feel pressure again.
Good. Now pause. What is one simple idea?
I think we should respond quickly to customers.
Very good. Now improve.
I think we should respond quickly to customers to reduce negative feedback.
Excellent. And notice something. You stayed calm during pressure. That is the real skill.
I think I understand now. Confidence is not speaking perfectly, it's staying calm while speaking.
Yes, that is exactly it. Confidence is not absence of fear. It's action despite fear. And when you can stay calm during silence, flow, and emotional pressure, your English becomes much more natural.
I feel more ready for real meetings now.
Good, because now you're not just learning English, you're learning how to think inside English. Today, we are going to bring everything together, not as rules, not as grammar, but as real communication you can use in real meetings, even when you feel pressure, silence, or uncertainty.
I still remember how nervous I used to feel when meetings became quiet.
Yes, and now the goal is not to eliminate silence, but to feel comfortable inside it. Because in real professional English, you will always meet three things: silence, fast flow, and emotional pressure. And you don't need to escape them, you need to move through them.
I want to understand something clearly before we finish. What should I focus on first when I'm in a real meeting?
Good question. Focus on only three things. First, breathe and stay calm in silence. Second, understand one main idea, not everything. Third, speak one clear sentence, not a perfect speech.
That sounds simple, but in real life it feels hard.
It feels hard because your mind tries to do too many things at once. So let's simplify your identity in meetings. You are not a translator. You are not a performer. You are a contributor.
A contributor.
Yes, someone who adds ideas. Even small ideas are valuable. Now, let's do a final, long, real-life simulation. No pressure, just practice. Imagine the situation. You are in a professional meeting with your team. The topic is improving customer experience. Your manager says, "We are receiving mixed feedback from customers. We need to decide what to improve first." Then, silence happens.
I feel that silence again, but I will try.
Good. Stay with it. What is happening in your mind?
I feel like I need to say something fast, but I will pause.
Excellent. Now, step 1. Pause.
I am pausing.
Step 2. What is one idea you understand?
We need to improve customer experience.
Good. That is your base idea. Now, step 3. Speak.
I think we need to improve customer experience by focusing on faster responses.
Excellent. Notice something important. You did not wait for perfect confidence. You created clarity step by step.
I feel something different now. Before, silence made me freeze. Now I feel like I can enter it.
That is a very important change. Now, let's talk about something deeper. In real meetings, your success is not measured by how many words you speak. It is measured by how comfortable you are when you speak.
So even small sentences matter?
Yes. For example, "I agree." "I think so too." "Maybe we can try this." These are simple sentences, but they keep you in the conversation.
I also learned something about emotions. When I feel nervous, I used to think I must hide that.
That is very common, but now you know something better. You don't need to hide emotions, you need to manage them. When you feel nervous, you can think, "This is just pressure, not danger."
That sounds simple but powerful.
It is powerful because it changes your reaction. Now, let's add one more real-life challenge. Sometimes in meetings, you will not understand everything perfectly. You will miss words, you will miss speed, you will miss context, and that is normal. So what do?
I guess stay silent?
That used to be your answer, but now you have better options. You can participate partially. For example, "From what I understand, we're focusing on customer feedback. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we need a faster system. What I hear is that timing is the main issue."
That feels like I can still be part of the meeting.
Exactly. You don't need full understanding to contribute. You need partial clarity and willingness.
I think my biggest fear used to be looking stupid in front of others.
That fear is very common, but let's reframe it. In professional environments, people don't remember perfect speakers. They remember helpful speakers. People who move the conversation forward, not people who speak perfectly.
That changes everything.
Yes, because it removes pressure from perfection. Now let's do a final reflection inside a meeting moment. Imagine this situation. Your team is ending a discussion about improving sales strategy. There's a final silence before decisions are made.
This time, I will not panic.
Good. What can you say to close your contribution?
I think we should focus on improving communication with customers.
Very good. Now add one small, confident ending.
I think we should focus on improving communication with customers. That could help increase trust.
Excellent. Notice that is not complicated English. That is clear thinking in English.
I feel like I understand meetings differently now. Silence is not scary anymore.
That is the main transformation. Silence is not a gap. It is not a failure. It is not pressure. It is space for thinking. And now you know how to use that space.
If I could go back to my first meeting, I think I would not stay silent so much.
And if you go to your next meeting, you will already be different. Not because your English suddenly became perfect, but because your mindset changed. You will pause instead of panic. You will think instead of freeze. You will speak instead of disappear.
I want to remember one final thing from today.
Yes.
Confidence is not speaking without fear, it's speaking with fear but staying calm.
Exactly. That is real communication confidence. Not perfection, not speed, not silence avoidance, but calm presence in real moments.
I feel more ready now for real meetings in English.
Good. Then remember this simple idea when you enter your next meeting. You don't need to fill every silence. You don't need to understand every word. You don't need to speak perfectly. You only need to stay present, choose one clear idea, and express it calmly.
I will try that.
And that is enough. Because every confident speaker you admire once stood in silence too. The difference is they learned to stay there without fear, and now you're learning the same skill.
Thank you. I feel calmer now.
You're welcome. And remember, every time there is silence in your next meeting, it is not blocking you. It is waiting for you.